Now, apart from threats to our safety and to our health, Jewish Israelis seemingly increasingly facing a threat to their own identities. This as Chief Rabbi of Israel David Lau freezing all state-affiliated conversions as part of a protest against planned conversion reforms. Lau argues that the reforms, which would authorize municipal rabbis outside the rabbinate to supervise conversions, would, quote, irreparably split the Jewish people into two states for two peoples, end quote. Government ministers, on the other hand, including co-author of the bill, Knesset member Yulia Melanovsky, alleging that Lau is holding the Israeli public hostage in order to blackmail the state, and they're calling for his ousting.
בן אדם איבד את זה, הוא שכח, עם כל הכבוד לתפקידו ומעמדו, שהוא עובד ציבור, מקבל משכורת מציבור, ובעצם אסור לו לפי כללים.
Joining now to discuss is Rabbi Dov Halbertal, former head of the Office of the Israeli Chief Rabbi, and Rabbi Pretz Rodman, head of the Conservative or Masorti Rabbinical Court of Israel. Thank you both so much for being with us. Now, Rabbi Rodman, I want to start with you. First, I want to focus on Rabbi Lau as well. Is he fulfilling, in your opinion, his duties as a public servant, or should he be reprimanded in some way for abusing his position, so to speak? And you know, how else do you see the situation?
This is just the latest manifestation of a general neglect of the role of the rabbinate in the life of the Jewish people in Israel that has come to characterize the Israeli state rabbinate, the state-funded rabbinate, over the past 30 years. I had an alternative rabbinical court, which the courts have forced to recognize. They are people, Israelis who convert to Judaism under auspices are recognized by the state as Jews, although not by the Orthodox rabbinate. And we find ourselves doing the work that the rabbinate itself once did before it fell into ultra-Orthodox hands. We see people who adopt children from abroad, and they're not fully observant people. Local rabbis always performed conversions for their children in the past until about 30 years ago. They stopped. We do it now.
So, all right.
We see of gay men who have children born to them with surrogates abroad. We see all sorts of people that the state rabbinate should serve. We'd be delighted if it would, but I have very little faith that it will. So, and Rabbi Lau's outrageous comments are simply the latest manifestation of the unwillingness of the state rabbinate to really see itself as a rabbinate of the whole Jewish people and not of a separatist minority.
All right, Rabbi Halbertal, I want to move to you. Would you agree that with the allegations that Rabbi Lau's protest is tantamount to an implicit threat, if not outright blackmail?
He's absolutely right, the chief rabbi, absolutely right. It's going like this. There is a minister, she, of absorption, and she is black, and I tell you why I'm telling it. Because she blackmails the government, telling them to bring into the state thousands of non-Jewish Ethiopian people. She is also doubtly, she herself is also doubtly Jewish at all.
Rabbi Halbertal, this is, you know, those people are coming into Israel, you know, not to interrupt, but those people are coming into Israel under an agreement that is years old. She's only pushing, the Interior Minister, the Immigration Minister, Pnina Tana-Shata, is only enforcing, in this case anyway, is enforcing an old agreement. And most of those people are considered Jewish according to the Israeli government.
Not at all. But the government doesn't give the orders to the tradition, to the Jewish tradition. This is the rabbis, the chief rabbinate position. And according to the Jewish tradition, the Ethiopian people are doubtly Jewish, maybe not Jewish at all, thousands of them. And hundreds of thousands of Russian people are non-Jewish at all. It means that we have more than 500,000 here non-Jewish people that want to be converted in a liberal way that it's not valid at all. And so the chief rabbi comes and say, I will not sign liberal or not valid conversions. I will not accept non-Jewish people to flood into Israel, to come and to conquer Israel, the only Jewish state in the world, and to change the DNA of the Jewish people. So he is absolutely right because there is no way to convert many people. It comes only to few people
Rabbi
that
Halbertal,
are really serious in it.
Rabbi Halbertal, you know, again, assuming you're right, which again, most reports through the government and from the rabbinate would disagree with you. But assuming that you're right, you know, how is Rabbi Lau's protest even supposed to work? Because it's largely hurting the Beit Israel and the former Soviets who are going through the rabbinate for conversion.
They can come through the rabbinate, but they are signing falsely.
But that's what I'm saying. They are going through the rabbinate. They are the people who are mostly being hurt by this freeze.
No. The state enforced the chief rabbinate to sign not valid conversions. The Beit Israel and the Falashmura and the other thousands of Ethiopians are doubtly Jewish and non-Jewish at all, and they are not converting seriously. They are not coming to convert. The Beit Israel are not coming to convert because they consider themselves Jewish, and they are not Jewish. Like the minister, like Tameno Shata, that she is the minister of the absorption, and the Falashmura they are not Jewish at all, even in the eyes of the other Ethiopians. And all the hundreds of thousands Russian coming here, according to the law, they are not Jewish at all. They will not come to convert. And the few that will come to convert, it's not valid at all. So the chief rabbinate and chief rabbi is right, is completely right not to sign nothing, even though he will have maybe to resign.
Rabbi Rodman, I want your response on this.
The state rabbinate's requirements for conversion are outrageous. They are far more than is required by the halakha. The halakha, traditional Jewish law, only requires that you teach people a certain amount of information about mitzvot, about how to live a Jewish life. And if you find that their motives are good, you encourage them, you welcome them into the Jewish people, and they learn from being part of the Jewish people in their daily lives. When we're talking about people who have already made the aliyah, we're talking about people who have committed themselves to the Jewish state, committed themselves to the Jewish people, are willing to serve and perhaps die or be injured in the army that serves not just the Jewish state, but the Jewish people. The Orthodox establishment that runs the religious, that runs the state rabbinate is, as I said earlier, the rabbinate of a tiny minority that feel themselves embattled. They are no longer the rabbinate of the whole state, and they have made themselves irrelevant. They have made themselves hated by so many people in this country. Check the numbers of people who go to the state rabbinate for marriage. While our population is double, that number remains the same over the past 20 or 30 years. The state rabbinate is an antiquated institution. I agree not with the Dov Halbertal that's speaking to you now, but with the Dov Halbertal who wrote 11 years ago that the mix of politics and religion in this country has created an endless cycle of moral turpitude and fraternal hatred. The religious establishment corrupts the fabric of the state, while the state corrupts the fabric of religion. You were right then, Rabbi Halbertal. Your defense of Rabbi Lau today is weak and I think outrageous.
It's
all right. Now, so Rabbi Halbertal, I want to come back to you now.
The separation of state and religion. The question is about being a Jew, the identity of a Jew, the way to convert a Jew. It's nothing to do with the.
Yes, it is because you're a tiny minority that you're defending insists that the entire Jewish people live by its standards, which are not the standards of classical halakha at all. They are the standards of an embattled minority that sees itself trying to push away the modern world, keep out foreign influences. You speak of Jewish DNA. There is no such thing as Jewish DNA. We may be a people, we may be a language group, we may be a religious group, but we are not a genetically united group. There is no Jewish DNA.
So Rabbi Halbertal, I want to ignore for a moment the Soviets, the Soviet Jews and the Falashmura and the Beit Israel. I want to ignore them for a moment, and I want to ask you really about Lau's arguments. He claims that if the reform is passed, then Jews will forever be divided. You've come here now to defend those statements, but as it is, and as Rabbi Rodman has alluded to, some 40% of Jews in Israel as it is already go out of their way to avoid the rabbinate. So isn't that already the situation? Isn't the reality already that the rabbinate or that the rabbinate rules in Israel has divided the Jewish public, and therefore a reform in some form is needed?
Maybe some technical reform, but not to the essence. 85%, even 90% of the citizens in Israel are Orthodox in some way, maybe traditionally, maybe keeping Orthodoxy. You have only 5% something around reforms and other liberals here in Israel. It's not the state.
And yet 40% of Jews, roughly 40% of Jews in Israel go around the rabbinate's back for life events like marriages and bar and bat mitzvot, etc.
No, it has nothing to do with their own belief. Technically, they don't like maybe the way and the bureaucratic way of the rabbinate in these issues, but they believe in Jewish to be the Orthodox way altogether. They will not marry an Ethiopian converted here in the liberal places. They will know they are not Jewish, or those Russian people that, they are coming, the Ethiopian and others, and saying, if we will not convert them, it means that we are racist. You can say the same, that we are racist, the Jewish people, because we are not converting the black people because they are black. It's nothing true. We have a tradition of 2,000 years. We'll keep the tradition, even if it will split the people here in Israel, because we have to keep, and there is a Jewish DNA for generations to be also.
All right, well, I hope that we can come to some sort of agreement that will bring the people in Israel together, and I hope that we can renew this conversation a little bit later when more details come out. Rabbi Halbertal, Rabbi Rodman, thank you both so much for joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you.